Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana Fierastrau, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network. We explore the latest strategies, insights, and stories from successful entrepreneurs and experts. From managing stress to building a thriving business, we've got you covered. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Adriana Fierastrau, and I'm your host of Negotiating Happiness. Today is December 4th. Welcome, everybody. Grab your coffee, grab your lunch, and let's get into it. You are tuning in to 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network, and it is 12 noon local time. Where I am, it is 1 o'clock Eastern time, and today I am here with the lovely Ariane. How are you?
I'm very good. Hello, also from my side. Great to be here. Thank you.
I'm so excited that you are here. Ariane, how do you say your last name? I didn't want to butcher it on live radio.
It's all good. Thanks for asking. Lalakea.
Lalakea, very nice. Okay, so Ariane is here with us today, and we will be speaking about embodied leadership, and she takes a holistic approach. She will teach us how to use one's own energy to be a leader in business and in life. I'm super excited to see how those two mix in together. So who is Ariane? She is a pioneering coach and facilitator in the field of embodied leadership. Her holistic approach, leading with head, heart, and sexual energy, enables conscious entrepreneurs to manage stress, anchor in trust, and use the wisdom of the body in business. She does offer one-on-one online support and in-person retreats to connect more to flow and intuition in business. She's got quite a few exciting projects on the go, and we are really excited to hear about this select Telegram group that she created, where it is, I believe, a learning community. I will make sure to include it in the links today, guys, so make sure you tune in. We are also live with comments and questions. Please keep it constructive. We would be happy to answer any that you may have on here. So I am so excited that you accepted the invitation to be on here today, because I have so many questions, so I can't imagine that other people don't have as many questions as I do. So
Thank you. The pleasure is
yeah,
mine.
oh, wonderful. So let's start right off is, where are you locally?
I'm usually located in the Netherlands, but originally I'm from Austria, and right now I'm in Austria, and we have about half a meter of snow here, so it's really Christmas winter
Ooh.
wonderland. Yes.
You guys have one of the best markets in the world, actually, too. I mean, everywhere, everything is Christmas right now, right? So, that is awesome. Oh, hello. This is Helen at Azul Education. Hello, Helen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stick around, ask
Hello.
lots of questions. We will be happy to answer. So, I'm only talking about Christmas markets because on the weekend I went to Quebec City here in Canada, and it's also very European inspired city, and they have a beautiful market, or actually probably more than one, but the one in Old Quebec City is beautiful. So I could only describe it to the people that I was with as, hey, you should see the ones in Germany and Austria and
Mm-hmm.
Scotland, and
For sure, yes.
they're beautiful. So
Mm,
even if you're not religiously inclined, Christmas time is such a joyful, time of year
mhm.
that I would like to partake in all of the activities. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so why don't you get us started? Tell us a little bit about your journey from burnout to healing that aligns with how you do business now. And the reason why I chose this question first is because we talk about burnout a lot here. We're
Mhm.
all, we have different responsibilities, and we are people as well, not just business machines. So burnout does happen a
Mm,
lot. So take us through your journey.
yeah, thank you. So, well, I started as a business consultant after university, and I was like always like pushing, 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 running, 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 performing, 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 achieving, achieving, achieving.
That's right. That's
So
right.
the usual, right? So,
That's right.
um, I was like, I considered myself as a brain on two legs. I was like very disconnected from my body, and my body was my last resources. I was working long hours. I was like, yeah, always available all the time. I was young. I was enthusiastic. I was ambitious, and it all went good until the moment it didn't anymore, and I developed an autoimmune disease, and I found myself
Right.
being like totally purposeless, like what to do, what else is there in life. So I went on a quest, and this quest led me to find a deeper connection and relationship with my body and with my life force energy. I went to do a second master degree in positive psychology, so I looked at the modern neuroscience around what is well-being and what is it that we need in our modern life in order to be connected to purpose, in order to be connected to well-being. And also on the other side, I was traveling through India and through Hawaii, and I was studying ancient wisdoms around like well-being, holistic health, and all of these things. And then, um, out of my own healing journey, that led me to get in touch with this part in myself where I stopped outsourcing my feeling of success on external factors, but I came back to like really determining what is success for me and really listening to that very thing and internalize it. And the funny thing is that everything that I was striving to achieve before, all the car, the house, the money, everything, with the moment I stopped like running after that and leaned into really trusting that like what I have, and really like internally sourcing my success, the rest came naturally. So it was like a good byproduct. And then
Yes.
yeah.
I think the
And
kids call it
then
manifesting these days, right? That's what you hear on
exactly.
the internet. That's what the kids call it these days. So we're going to go with that.
Manifesting your dream life, or
Right.
however you want to call it. But yeah, it has to do like I started to really connect with my body, and I was like, wow, all of a sudden I could be so present. I stopped being overwhelmed and really increased my resilience. I learned how to be very grounded within myself. I learned how to use my life force energy and access a deep creativity and vitality within myself. And out of this, I basically birthed a business that is more focused on working with conscious sexuality as a personal development path. It's called Blix. And then the pandemic came, and then I was like, okay, now I have been like have had these two career paths, so where am I going now? And then I was like, oh, I really want to bring this knowledge about holistic leadership, about embodied leadership into businesses and support them to transform the way how we're doing business, because I really believe that business needs to start to be more human-centered and interconnected, and also nature or Mother Earth centered. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny that you say that because I recently saw a post about it was somebody that was giving advice to business owners to not separate their accounts so that people are able to see their personal lives with their business lives. And at first I immediately was like, oh, I know that would be a terrible idea, but I understood why she was saying that, and it kind of resonates with what you just said. You're not a product, you're a human.
Mm.
So people like to see the human side of you. They like to see who are you outside of this kind of business transaction or whatever you may call it, right? And I've always believed that people buy from you as a person, especially with business, small businesses, right? We're not, neither you or I are some corporate, entity out there that doesn't have a face or a name, really. We're not a numbered corporation, right? So I completely agree with that. I do think that business needs to become a little bit more human. And I think the more you understand human nature, the more you're able to conduct business that way. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, they can't do they can't do the other because they don't have the first, right? So the first part would be the understanding of human nature. So I'm so excited that you get to teach us a little bit today.
Yeah.
So what so how would you explain this? How does body, mind, heart, life force energy contribute to success in business? And what practical strategies do you teach that kind of lead us onto that path of leading with, our own energy, looking inwards rather than outwards, kind of for that validation? I love that you said that, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. So like when we're connecting the body to business, we're accessing our wisdom of our body, and we have a wonderful compass here. Some people call it intuition, some people call it like body feeling. Like what happens when we're running all the time is that we are frying our nervous system all the time, and at some moment we're overfried, and this
Right.
leads to collective burnout. And I mean, today it's almost like everybody wants to, like, yeah, I had a burnout, or like, yeah, me too, it's like everybody has met this point of exhaustion, or this point of purposelessness, of like, why am I running in a hamster wheel? Like, where's this going? Especially like with the changes in our society. So it's like connecting the wisdom of the body, and like using this wisdom that is here, and instead of pushing through and like detaching and dissociating from the body, coming back into working with the body, and for this finding more vitality at the end of the day, and also
Right.
being more present, because what we're doing is like we're so much yesterday and tomorrow and like everywhere, but the body is our like anchor in the present moment. And many of my clients, they're suffering from anxiety attacks, from panic attacks, from feeling overwhelmed, from sleeping issues. And this is mainly because they're consistently overriding the symptoms of the body. I mean, I think it's also very, like, we all have been working so hard that we forget to eat or even to drink, or even that we
Yeah.
didn't go to the Wii, like these kind of things. Of course, exaggerating, but bringing
Yeah.
this into business and connecting to the heart energy is like is what resonates, is what brings this interconnectedness, this human element, the heart into the business. And in life force energy, or also like chi or kundalini or sexual energy, as it's called, it has nothing to do with arousal, but with really our portal of creation. When we can access this in our body, this center where we're where we're creating life, but we're also creating ideas. So like leaning back into the more yogic and tantric philosophy of like the wisdom of our energy centers that are there, and learning how to use this so we can accelerate the way how we are showing up. And this in business, more practically speaking, leads to be more radiant, leads to be more focused, less distracted, leads to be more resilient, so better able to holding the ups and downs, especially as entrepreneurs, super, super important. But also leads to, like, when I'm healthily connected to my body, then I can also healthily connect to my business. If I'm
Right.
having a relationship of my body with in and out, yes and no, I give you food, I don't give you food, I give you a lot of food, I fast for 3 days. If I'm playing this kind of relationship with my body, most likely I play it with my lovers, or I play it with my business. So learning
Yeah.
to really like look into these patterns of relating, and really redefine those to finding healthy and securely attachments to everything that we're doing. Because as you said before, we're bringing us everywhere where we are. Everything is interconnected. It's not like me,
Right.
Ariane, now business me, and then I go down to the living room with my parents and then the girl me, No, this is not how
Yes.
it works.
Yeah, you've said so many things here. So,
Sorry.
Helen, no, I want to say you've said so many things that I also resonate with. And Helen at Azul Education also just commented that some of the stuff is resonating, which is really great. It means that people are aware of these types of issues. So I'm glad that we can kind of shed light on it a little bit. So. I think the first thing that I wanted to mention was I never thought about using this life force, the kind of the part that you described as sexual energy, as it's not just for what we think of the first thing that comes to mind. It's also for creating, to being creative, creating life. So it makes sense to me that this would be the force that would also create other things in our lives. So it's really important for people to kind of pick up on that. I think that's the first differentiating, or the first kind of like, oh, aha moment. It's not just about arousal, it's not just about your private life. It you went on to explain how it all trickles down into your other relationships as well, including business and your partners and your family and whatever else. So correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm hearing is we're just not listening to our bodies, which is not new, but you're just explaining it on how to go about it and how to use that force inside to be able to listen to our bodies. Because I, for one, am really guilty of this. I will push myself until I get so sick that I have to take a day off, or that I have to pause this project or what I'm doing. And that's not necessarily good. It is not good for business either. I think your clients would rather see you be efficient and thrive rather than see you be beat down every day. And I'm really bad at this too. The other thing I think was, I don't know, you just said so many wonderful things. uh, the other thing was the interconnectedness, right? That we need to remember is this isn't just a bunch of words. This is just an explanation for what happens naturally. This isn't something that's made up. This is just how we've chosen the speed, right? That we do business at, that we live at. This is a chosen speed. And what you're saying is your body doesn't work with that speed. Your body has its own speed, and we choose to ignore it purposely, right? So we kind of need to slow down. And a really good kind of parallel that I've heard that I like to think about myself now is, Mother Nature slows down for an entire quarter of the year. So why don't we, right? Why don't we take the time to kind of, I'm not, maybe not saying at the same time, but I think we need to take from nature and understand that we are also nature. Just because we've got these,
Absolutely.
like, electrical things around us, and we've created this lifestyle of go go go, doesn't mean that we're still not creatures of nature, and we need to take a break on that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you've gone abroad and studied, which I think is fascinating. I actually work with a client that's a Canadian charity that teaches about it's religious education. So it's religions from all over the world, and I think they're so fascinating. I'm not really religious myself. I just like to observe in culture and spirituality, other things, right? But I love to learn about it. So tell us, how do modern and ancient wisdom combine in this methodology that you use to coach?
Yeah. Um, so many things.
I know it's such a big question. I'm so sorry. I realize it's a very big question. Give us the cliff notes, if you will.
Okay. Um, well, as you said, like we need to adjust to the pace and like through bringing in more ancient wisdoms is like this remembrance that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like there's things that are already here for us that we can lean into, which, for example, is mindfulness, it's compassion, it's gratitude, it's interconnectedness. These are the things that help us to build and lead a more conscious and ethical business that is prioritizing the well-being of the individual and of the planet over the profit, which does not mean, like as you said, like slowing down. I think there's a fear that slowing down means to miss out, because we're so much of this like beta tracker market share and who has the biggest market share and all of these economic foundations, that we as entrepreneurs have the chance to reinvent and decondition ourselves and still be highly successful and profitable, but not of the costs to others, ourselves, and the planet Earth. So
Right.
I I bring in also from positive psychology a lot of modern neuroscientific knowledge that we now know, where we realize like, oh wow, the yogis, they knew this wisdom actually a long time ago, but it was not scientifically proven. So I think now we're living in a very exciting times where we start to see like, oh wow, actually this stuff is real, it's
Yeah,
really
they knew
working.
what they were
Yeah,
talking
they
about.
knew
Yeah,
what they
they
were
knew.
talking
It's
about.
like, when you have these like all the grandmas, they know all of the things to heal you at home, like home remedies, and we didn't really know some of the science behind it. Now it's coming up. This is exactly what it reminds me of, right? So they knew what they were talking about. We just couldn't justify it with logic, I guess, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, there's, as you said, with the seasons, there's always a time um, uh, to to rest and the time to be active. And this is very important, because if we have like we know this, when we put a garden out and we put the seeds in the ground, we don't go every half an hour to water it, because we understand that it needs time to grow until the seed comes out. And then when it comes to business and how we're showing up, is like pushing and more, and like all of these like very aggressive approach that is overdoing, like overachieving, overdoing, overperforming, that is not leading anywhere. So it's about like really coming back to remembering that, and to finding the individual flow. Like for women, when I work with women, I work specifically with our cyclical nature as women. We have different seasons throughout a month as menstruating beings, where we have different hormones coming into play, where we have different energies available for us. I mean, premenstrual syndrome is something that everybody knows, which is not okay, in fact, that everybody knows, because this is a consequence of a woman who has been pushing too much, that she has pain before her period.
Right.
So like
Right.
all of these things that we are gonna tackle with is like, okay, how can I bring in this cyclical awareness and work with that in my day to day, in my to dos, in my leadership, and how can I show up with this and feel more alive, more flow,
Yeah.
and open myself up more to receive. As I said, if I keep on doing all the time, how can I receive when I do all the time? If I'm talking
Yeah.
all the time, I'm not able to receive a question, right? So I need to
Right.
shut up also. So this is the same principle. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really glad that you mentioned about some of the pain that comes with, the biology of a woman. I have to say that I don't know about me where you are, but where we are, there's all of these so all of these memes that I keep seeing, they come from truth, where you go to the doctor and you keep being told, it's like, hey, I am having so much pain. Oh, you have a uterus, you're a woman, it's normal. Hey, so my leg's about to fall off, what do I do? Oh, you have a uterus, it's normal. Like, it's so, one, misunderstood what it means to be,
Mm,
and two, just because you're a woman doesn't mean you have to experience that pain. That is actually not normal, and they teach
mm,
everybody that that's normal,
mm,
right? Oh,
mm,
it's you're because of your cycle, because of this, because of that. No, it
mm,
that comes from not understanding what is actually supposed to happen, and not paying attention to it enough, and not putting enough money and research and time in medical school or in textbooks to be able to learn about what actually happens. And everybody gets told that this is normal. So I'm so glad that you also confirmed it is not normal. It is not
Mm-hmm.
normal for you to go through this much pain. Something is wrong. And this is where you can start, especially as a woman. And men have hormones too, and men have their own different cycles, but they're daily, if I'm not mistaken, whereas a
Mm,
women's cycle spans it's monthly, right? So
exactly.
this is where you can start listening to your body. If your body is in pain, that's not normal. It's telling you to stop doing something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Start listening to the body, and like another thing that I see a lot on this is that many people, they think when they're looking into Instagram is that they are relaxing, right? And then they're wondering that nothing is shifting at
I
all.
feel a little bit attacked now.
Sorry. Well, sorry, not sorry.
This hits home for a lot of us, I'm sure.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
me included. I have to be really disciplined around these things because it can be so easy to get this dopamine kick. And all the time, this dopamine kick is what is leading us into this hustling culture that ends
Right.
in us being burned out, having PMS, endometriosis, whatever, you name it, like fucked up relationships, all of that things. And I think it's our own responsibility to reclaim that first and foremost in my self leadership, and then in my leadership, um, in my leadership of my everyday, including my business. If I'm a business owner, and why I work with business owners is because I think business owners have the biggest responsibility in starting to do things differently.
Right. Right, because we operate in both realms, right? We're not just consumers. We're also part of the demand process. Yeah, no, totally. I
Mm-hmm.
totally agree with that. And now it depends, right? Somebody, you could argue and say that small business owners have the most kind of flexibility to start changing things, but maybe not the most impact. And big business owners have the most impact, but maybe not as big of flexibility. So it could go either way, but I think we all need to start shifting. We need to shift how we do business, but it is hard because it's obviously very profit driven and very capitalist view of everything. It's kind of like that whole movement of, not movement, but the idea of shop small. I would love to shop small all the time. It's not always convenient. It's not always available, right? So that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off that you have to make that active decision to be like, I'm going to start supporting my community regardless of what the implications might be. And that's hard for some people. It's also not always financially feasible, right? For some people, not everybody has the freedom to do that. It's the same idea, right? We have to start somewhere and we have to be intentional about it.
I absolutely agree, but I mean, I absolutely agree that it's not like accessible to everybody, but the tools that I'm working with, they don't require any investment, like you learn the tools and then you go with it. Like you
But I
start
want to
to,
I want you to tell me
yeah,
about those tools. Yes, because this
yes.
is what other people are probably thinking too. So tell me about some of the tools that you provide for people,
Mm, so
or how you go about in your coaching or your methodology. Just give us a tidbit of information on, so that people can understand that this is accessible to them.
yes, thank you. Um, so like we're getting intimate with the body itself. So first and foremost, and when like my approach is called leading with head, heart, and sexual energy. So the first part is to start recognizing, okay, like how does my body feel? Like connecting to the sensations and to the emotions in the body, and learning how to track the own nervous system and how to regulate the nervous system, because then we can get out from a surviving mode into a thriving mode, so we can access a state of relaxation, we can access a state of uh, of like of being connected to ourselves and not driven by any programs, so of pleasing or of overachieving or all of these things. So this is the first part of it. And then the second part, within this work, there's going to be revealing some beliefs, some conditions. So we're going to do some shadow work, some maybe there's also some trauma. So we're looking into all of that. Also, as I said before, into how do I relate to my business. So really to check how am I relating to that. This is on the body part. Then on the second part is the leading with the head, where it's more about like, okay, how can I embody my vision? Because as an entrepreneur, it's so important to keep like sight of the vision. Where am I steering towards? So how can I bring this into the present moment and embody this? So we're gonna bring this into a posture or into a movement and access the vibration of this vision that you're holding. And you can implement this really quickly in a break, for example. Connect to this posture and breathe with it, regulate your nervous system, and hold the vision. Connect stronger to the foundation of your business, for example.
Right.
And
Right.
then we're gonna go ahead and we're connecting to the heart, the leading with the heart, which is like really being very clear, what are my values and how are my values translating into my business. And this goes into all directions, into how I communicate with my team, how I communicate with my clients, all of these things. And then last but not least is the part of like leading with sexual energy, with life force energy, where it's a lot about like freeing our roots and like making space there so we can be connected to creativity. And this is done through breathing, through movement, through sounding, through meditating, through visualizing. And usually at this point, many of my clients, they're like all of a sudden they're very connected to an innovative flow of ideas. It's like, wow, it's like the life is running and pulsing through them. Because what is happening also is like through sitting so much, where like if you think about our life force energy, which is seated in our sex center and in our roots, it's like if we're sitting, we're like cutting this, right? And it's like it gets very stuck and rigid.
There's
And
no
this is like
flow.
there's no flow, exactly. And the more we sit, the more rigidity we're getting. And I like this metaphor of like saying that it's like a nectar that needs to be flowing. It's like our life force energy that wants to flow. So it's like, okay, what can I do in order to bring this into flow so I can access creativity and I
Right.
can access this sense of flow and deep trust within myself and for all my
Right.
business endeavors. Yeah.
It's essentially right tying your physical state to your mental state at all times, right? So it is crazy how we always expect to treat the physical but never the mental, or the, you know what I mean, or the whatever's going on in our head to help us let go of that. But I mean, here's another example for people who are listening is when you have writer's block, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could totally tie that to whatever's happening physically as well, right? Or when you have, or if you are, if you know about, you know, ancient traditions, or, you know, the chakras, what do they represent? Do you have, you know, different blocks along? Is it because something's on your mind, you can't speak, so is it your throat chakra, that kind of thing? I loved learning about that kind of mindfulness or
Yeah,
spirituality, because it helps
exactly.
you look inwards a little bit. So my next question is how it's kind of connected. How does self-awareness contribute to a leader's ability to see the bigger picture, and how do you see it shifting this business paradigm, like once everybody can get to that self-awareness point?
Yeah. Um, so Self-awareness, um, for me, is like a compass, right? And it connects you to your full landscape. It's like your thoughts. It connects you to your strengths, to your weaknesses, to like the emotions and different reactions in the body. When it comes to embodied leadership, this takes it even a little bit further, because it's only connecting you to body and to intuition, so to nervous system, to intuition. So it's like a holistic approach that fosters a deep understanding of self and the ability um, to be compassionate for myself and for others.
Right.
And from there, we're creating a more inclusive and collaborative environment because we're aware of ourselves. So like then I'm not acting sociopathic if I'm self-aware.
Right.
This is like a contradiction, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I'm like more connected to others. Like my self-awareness helps me to understand also my needs, my desires, and my boundaries. And so
Right.
many are trapped in people pleasing, overstepping own boundaries just for the sake of fulfilling a deadline. Um, all of these things. And I mean, there's nothing wrong in doing that. But if this becomes a pattern in itself that
A
is
habit.
self, a
Yeah.
habit, exactly, that is self-sabotaging, then this needs to be changed, and it can be changed through self-awareness. So self-aware leaders, I think um, they would they are only able to lead from a bigger picture, not only driven by money focus or by KPI focus. Like, self-awareness is so essential for being a great leader, what is needed in our times now. Yeah.
Right. Right. So before we continue with the second part of that question, I just wanted to do a quick station intro. So for anybody tuning in, welcome. This is Negotiating Happiness, and I'm your host, Adriana Fierastrau, and I'm here with the lovely Ariane Lalakea, and she is an embodied leadership coach, and you are listening to 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network, and we are talking about using our life force in order to enhance embodied leadership in business and in life, as we are all connected here. And Ariane is simply teaching us that there is a way, and she is the one that coaches lots of business owners into this way, and it's very educational, right? Of to think to change a mindset, right, or to discover other ways of thinking about life problems, business problems. So we were just speaking about self-awareness, and the second part of the question was how do you see the shift happening from traditional business paradigm? And from my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we just need to be more flexible with each other, I think. I know, like Ariane was saying, we're very profit driven or KPI driven or deadline driven, but sometimes that's just not the way to go if we're going to make this a habit, right? Or if we're going to self sabotage. I heard self sabotage a lot, and I was like, yeah, I'm familiar. So is this kind of the shift that you were imagining, right? Where we're more flexible with each other and more understanding?
More flexible with each other, yes, for sure. Um, but um, but also more connected to values, right? And more connected to creativity and more connected to flow instead of from being in rigid structures, being more free instead of top down, being more open to like um, more away from from traditional hierarchical organizational structures into
Yeah.
more human centeredness. Yes, this is for sure the shift that I see.
Yeah. And I think we've started, right? Like you said, for me personally too, the reason why I wanted to start this platform is because I wanted to find out what makes people happy and why they went the route that they went, especially in entrepreneurship. Because I do come from legal background, or somewhat corporate, right? Some of a corporate environment where I did not thrive in that hierarchy. I mean, I guess like you could say I did, but mentally I was not thriving in that kind of environment. So I think a lot of us that come on this show can relate to, the hierarchy isn't working. The corporate stresses aren't working. This is why we're here, and this is why we're trying to carve our own path to what we think success is. So I do see that shift. I see us starting there.
Mm.
But a lot of us start out with the corporate values that we had and the hustle culture and everything. So I do think that there's so much more to be learned to kind of step away from that, even though we've taken that big scary step, right, into the world of
Mm.
entrepreneurship. We don't we're not equipped sometimes to deal with all of the stresses, even though we want it to be in a different way. We're not always equipped. And some entrepreneurs end up having teams as well, so they need to be equipped with this sort of information so that they can deal with their staff or their team members or their partners in a very positive way. So this is definitely something that's
Mm.
very helpful. I was gonna ask you. Sorry, go ahead. It looked like you were going to say something.
Yeah, and I mean, we already said this in the beginning, but it's also about like the shift of like bringing our authentic selves into that, not like pretending that we are like some sort of perfection, like really owning our weaknesses and standing for that, and bringing this authenticity into the way how we're doing
Yeah.
business. So this is, yeah,
People are
also
afraid,
huge.
right? People are afraid. They don't want to show their weaknesses because they think it will translate into like loss of clients, or so I can see why that's not something that's common, right? People are
There,
afraid for sure.
yeah, people for sure. There people are afraid on the one side, and on the other side, some people they are misusing it because it's like hashtag vulnerability share, like where people are using this sort of vulnerability as their marketing instrument, which is also like there's two extremes in a way, and I think it's
Interesting.
like something that we need to find a good middle ground somewhere.
Balance. Yeah, balance.
Hmm.
Interesting that you say that. Okay, so I did notice, but I thought it was just me. That's very interesting that you say that. Yes. So unfortunately, I guess authenticity, just because you slap the word authentic on it doesn't mean that you are authentic. The other thing too is I think sometimes people are afraid to actually be authentic because there's a lot of criticism online. There's a lot of, keyboard warriors that don't necessarily understand that human part of doing business, so they tend to criticize a lot worse. Or even this, right? I think I was telling you at the beginning of the show. We're very open around here. I was telling you at the beginning of the show that sometimes people tend to, if they don't like content, they will go and report it, and for really silly
Mm.
reasons like copyright infringement, when there is clearly no copyright infringement, right? Um, and people do that because of their own insecurities. So like, how do you deal with them? You just, they're a part of it, and you just kind of move on, and you try to make sure you're as constructive as possible. We had one time on the show, we were talking about kind of the mother load, right? Like the workload of a mother or a
Mm,
woman or
mm,
whatever. And there was a comment that was clearly from a male member of the audience who just assumed that we were two, quote unquote, two American women just complaining about their lives. And it would just showed so much fragility in that comment, that what are you going to do? Like, all you can do is say, hey, this is my perspective and my platform, and this is how I can be authentic to the members
mm,
that do resonate with what I'm saying. Do I think that I have it the worst? No, absolutely not. There are so many people out there who do not have in even an inch of the possibilities and the resources that I have, and I'm very well aware of it, and I say it all the time. But at the same time, this is just my perspective, right? So people have to either respect it or don't watch it. So unfortunately, not everybody has that online, right? People tend to be criticized pretty harshly sometimes, and I get why people try. Their authenticity is more of like I love those. This always gets me, and I do it on my personal page too, where we do like an Instagram versus reality post. So I did it recently with my kid. He's all prim and proper sitting his Christmas picture, and then the next slide is him just like losing it on the couch there because he's had enough photos. But it's the same thing, right? It's like, what do we curate for Instagram, and what do we actually go through in real life, right? And I think people like to see that, right? I think they do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes them
Yes,
not
and
feel bad that they're human, right?
exactly. It's about like it's so much about embracing our human mess.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
I am a human
yeah,
mess, world.
a
I am.
sacred human mess. Exactly.
Yes.
And yeah, and owning that, right? And I mean, as you said before, I wish that these people they could have a little bit more portion of self-awareness, or a little bit more portion of leading with the head, with the heart, and with the body. And I love how you've been like handling this and being and leading, guiding by example of like really trying to educate and be compassionate and empathize with this person, instead of going and being like bam boom 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 boom, and we
Yeah,
know
yeah,
where
like
this
this isn't
ends.
professional.
Exactly.
What is professional, people? What is professional? I feel like
Yeah.
it could be, it's such a varied conversation. But thank you so much, Helen, for the comment. She's loving the convo. She says two empowering voices. I think we can be different and the same at the same time, right? We can relate, and
Exactly.
we can still make amazing things happen, have lots of achievements, but we can also
Absolutely.
have our downtime. And you know I've been on this show with entrepreneurs that have chronic illnesses and they're successful, entrepreneurs that are single mothers and are successful, or entrepreneurs that are just starting out at you know after having experienced so much of the corporate, and then entrepreneurs that I've never experienced. We're just at different levels, and we can all exist together. That's kind of where I'm at right now, right? Um,
Exactly. And I mean, this is also something that I see shifting through this, is that we're moving away from competition into really collaboration and
yes,
valuing our uniqueness, and at the same time reminding us of our collectiveness. Because it's not
yes,
only about
yes,
a one-man show. We also know where this leads, right? It's about like really all of us making space for each of us, and
totally,
creating this world together, this business together, this economy together, this environment together, and like really
totally.
reminding of that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And it's the same even with the show. I feature people that I meet from everywhere. It is not a paid position. There's no money involved here. The businesses that come on here do not pay to come on here. We're just simply sharing and collaborating information. I love sharing everybody's links and their projects, because I think what goes around comes around, right? That's that whole idea of you
Mm.
get to make new friends, people learn things, and I think that's how it should be
Yeah.
across the board, right? That's how it should
Yeah.
be across the board. I wanted to ask you about a specific example or a success story from one of your clients that has embraced well-being, intimacy, and the leadership principles, and how has their journey changed or shifted?
Yeah. I want to share a story from Christina. She is a photographer, and she had a very hard time. She was already established in business, but she found herself like being always on the run to the next gig, and like overstepping her boundaries. She felt very stuck um, for in her business, and also especially in her creativity. Like there was a job where you think like, oh, this must be something very creative person, but because she was like so much hustling, she had a really hard time to access her creativity and come into flow. and she found herself pushing a lot, like beyond, like working long hours, overriding her body symptoms. And what happened in her relationship was that her love life, her sex life was like ebbing, and she had a really low libido. She was very exhausted, all of that things. So what we were working on was to connect her to her body, connect her to her life force energy, working through like shifting those habits she put herself into, like all the mindset that comes with it. This is
Right.
also a big shift, like this scarcity mindset, that we are so often finding ourselves running in, whereas like I have to do more. If I want to earn more, I have to
Yep.
do more. For
Yep.
example, like all of these belief or conditions that somewhere we get, and step into more like abundance mindset and like really
Yep.
owning that.
We're
Um,
chasing the next pay. We're chasing the next pay. That's
exactly.
what it is.
From
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And like really opening up to receive, connecting to the body, connecting with her life force energy. And then all of a sudden, we've been working like 3 months together, and then after 6 weeks or so, all of a sudden she was like, wow, she started to be so radiant, and she was like attracting new clients out of nowhere. And it was like, wow, something is shifting in me, you know. It's like, it's not like, this is I think a little bit the difficulty, because you cannot put the finger on it. It's not like if you turn this wheel, this is gonna happen. This is,
Right.
it's human. It's a little bit complex. But the whole thing, what has happened with her is that she could lean into more into her surrender and more into her pleasure, and stop the moving from pressure, and like really embody a pleasure driven way of leading herself, of leading her business, and the way how she did business. And then she started to be super creative, and she was like, wow, I haven't felt so creative in a long time. And with
Yep.
this, she started to shift her pricing. She has had a new confidence, and she was stepping running after that next gig, instead of like really leaning into trusting and being so confident that she's gonna bring in that the next people are wanting her, not like me chasing the business, but the business coming to me,
Coming to
right?
her. Yeah. Yeah. It's like taking inventory of all of your energy and noticing where it's going and maybe redirecting some
Mm,
of it, right? It's the same
yeah.
thing with resources when I do things with my clients is okay, let's see where all of your resources are going and see what we can trim and what we can make new habits out of. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. And all of a sudden you find yourself with extra energy that can go to your creativity, that can go to,
Mm,
having a great family life or just being happy, right? That's the whole purpose of
mm,
this, is to
mm,
achieving that balance. So we're
yeah.
getting close to the end here, and I feel like we could talk forever. So we're gonna have to have
For
you
sure.
on again. We're gonna have to have you on again in the new year because I have more questions. But um, I wanted to quickly ask. I know that you like to travel, and what else makes you happy? Like, what makes this all worth it for you? The whole grind of being an entrepreneur and educating others. Like, what brings you that peace, that happiness? It could be
The,
anything, right?
um, well, I mean, it doesn't have to be one thing.
No, it could be many. It could be many. I have people that come on here and say they like to go working out at 5 a.m. and that brings them happiness. That doesn't bring me happiness, but it brings them happiness,
Mm,
right? So it could be
yeah.
anything. And it could be multiple things. And I usually ask like individual you, not business you, not partner you, like what makes you happy. Like for example, for me, I used to be really creative and I used to paint all the time. And I think that will bring me happiness the day that I can finally take time again to do that, or when I can start focusing on travel again, right? Like that is what really makes me happy. And I'm creating
Mm,
a work life balance around me that will support that. What is that for you? What is that thing for you that makes you happy?
mm. Makes me very happy to hang out in my body a lot. I love it. I love to inquire practices, to take my time for this, to like to read about breathing techniques and try them out and see if what I have been reading is true, like a little bit
Right.
like this
Yeah.
science. But this makes me really happy to be in this body. I was for so long, I was so disconnected from the pleasure of being in a body, and now I'm like overly excited about my body. Like really, this makes me on a daily
Fe-
basis. This is my favorite. Yes.
yeah, just feeling good and feeling like
Yeah.
yourself, right? And a lot of people go through that, where they go through the day-to-day grind and they lose themselves in it. So it's really great that you are able to just be content and be happy being yourself, learning more things about yourself or what works for you. That's amazing. That's really great. That's amazing. Let's
Thank
take two
you.
minutes here and tell us a little bit about your Telegram group. I want to know more.
So my Telegram group is for conscious entrepreneurs, for leaders, for coaches, where I'm gonna share practices, embodiment tools, exercises. I just started it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm very excited about it. I feel this is a new way of creating community where people can engage with me. It's for free. It's yeah, I'm gonna be there to answer questions. I'm there to share more tools, more educational stuff around how we can live in tune with our life force energy, with our breath, with our body, and use this for really supercharging our business and our leadership. So yeah, I'm very excited. As I said, I'm just in the beginning, so I'm very excited for everybody to join there. And um, yeah, and I
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yes. Sorry.
We're going a
Oh
little
no.
bit laggy here. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
So, everybody, go ahead
that's
and click on the link that I just posted in all the comments. It is a free community if you wanted to be a part of the beta group, because this is
yeah.
brand new. And you have the opportunity to pick Ariane's brain here. So I think this is huge. It is a new platform, so I think you can download it. I think it has its own app and everything. And you can get Telegram for desktop as well. So go check it out. I mean, what more do you want? If you want biz besties, do you want, more in tune spiritual besties? This is probably a really good place to start, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, this is amazing. I just have so many more questions. So we're gonna have to put you on the schedule for next year too, if you would like to join
Yay.
us back,
Yes, it
because
would be a
there's so
pleasure.
much more.
Mm.
Yeah, there's so much more that I'd like
Yeah.
to learn about. In the meantime,
Thank
I'm
you.
joining that Telegram group and I will stick around
Yay.
to hear more, because I
Yay.
feel like we all need that kind of support. And isn't it wonderful when you're a business owner and you get to decide how you get to use your time? That's great. That's the whole point, right?
That's the best about it, right? That alone
That's the
makes me
whole
also
point of
very
it.
happy. Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
what it is. That's what I keep saying,
Yeah.
right? So that's the whole point of it. So
Mm.
thank you everybody for tuning in. This was Negotiating
Yeah.
Happiness, and my guest is Ariane Lalakea, and she is
Thank
an
you. Thank
embodied
you.
leadership coach. I'm so glad you came on. Thank you to
Yeah. Thank
everybody in the
you.
comments. Thank you for tuning in. If you guys need to send in your questions, I'm pretty sure I get notifications on the replays as well. If you want to go to my Facebook, YouTube, or I think my Twitch account would work as well if you have questions for later, or you can get in touch with Ariane at Ariane Lalakea on Instagram or on her website, or find me on Instagram at assistant.ontario, and we can
Mm.
go with this. A quick announcement about me: if you guys wanted to work with me, this year my rates are going up in 2024, but day reservations are still open, so just go to OntarioAssistant.com and click on day reservations, and you are able to book it with 2023 rates for 2024 if you wish. And if you just want to take a look, you can do that too. I don't mind. Take a look at my website. Again, constructive criticism open. We're all open here. So again, thank you so much. And thank you to the
Thank
network,
you,
the United
Adriana.
Public Radio
Yeah.
Network.
Thank you.
We will be on again every Monday, so 107.7 and 105.3 FM New Orleans on United Public Radio Network. And if you guys wanted to check out some of our shows, we're also on Roku TV now, so give us a listen and click that follow, click that subscribe button so that we can be here for you longer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adriana. It was a pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for listening. So good. Yay.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye.